What's that stuff? What's the you on YouTube when people whisper and you go to sleep? What's that called? You ever heard of that?
That was Misisipi Mike. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. Every week on this podcast, we feature artists, musicians, bartenders, and other San Franciscans talking about living, working, and doing their thing here. It's a way to get to know your neighbors. Welcome to episode 26, part 2. In this podcast, Mike talks about old music venues as a setup to some stories about Jonathan Richman. He ends the podcast with a string of celebrity sightings he's had with a legendary San Francisco band. That third voice you'll hear in the background is episode 22 storyteller John Binder. We recorded this podcast as part of Tighten Up Your Wig, John's show on Radio Valencia. Here's Misisipi Mike.
I've always lived in the Mission. I've had 3 apartments. I lived at 14th and Guerrero. And for the 5 people out there who are still have their hearing, who are not so old, I used to live across the street from the old Valencia Gardens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Bearded Lady was around the corner, which was one of the original. Mission used to be a real lesbian neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And the Bearded Lady was one of the things that started that whole thing. And then I lived at 19th and Valencia when Amnesia was some other bar. I don't remember what it was.
Amelia's.
No?
It was
a
Amelia's.
Chatterbox, and it was something.
Oh, Amnesia. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the makeout room.
Yeah. I don't remember that. Have you been around that long?
Yeah. Well, I haven't, but I know the.
Okay. Wow.
Amnesia. God damn it. Yeah. I have amnesia about what it used to be.
Yeah, I think like Nirvana played there and stuff. I don't remember.
Yeah,
it was.
And they have the speakeasy, of course, in that venue, still there, like
downstairs,
in the back and down. And
yeah, I tell people
to
about
like
that.
Every shoe store and everything.
Yeah,
in that
area. Yeah. I mean, it's still if you play there, you hang out down there. Although I didn't know you could go out. It makes sense. But yeah, they used to have shows upstairs and downstairs. Mm-hmm. And it would be packed upstairs and then packed downstairs as well. If that place would have caught on fire, man, who knows? I'm glad it didn't. And, yeah, they would have shows. Back then, you would have shows in San Francisco. There were 3 venues that I know of that would have shows from 2 in the afternoon to 2 in the morning on Saturdays. And maybe 4. And then you had the Paradise that had 5 different stages. So that's how many bands there were, and that's how many people there were to come out to see bands, and how cheap it was you could live here too. You know.
Yeah, of course. What were some of those venues?
I can't. The guy who owns the Makeout had one of them, and it was called the Thirsty Swede. Stupid name. I don't remember the other one, and the Amnesia place was one of them, and the other one was across the street from the Thirsty Swede, and the woman who owned the place that was before Amnesia owned that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and you get, literally, if you were a crappy band, you went on at 3, 4 in the afternoon. It's the only time I ever went on, you know. And then, like Amnesia, they would have a pool table. They had a pool table, and the reason why the stage is so high is the pool table would go underneath the stage. Yeah, that's why the stage is so high. I never had the pool table pushed underneath the stage for my bands.
You just left it out.
We were never worthy of that.
You're like, just keep your game going. Well,
trippy thing is now I live at 21st and Mission. I've lived there basically forever. And when I moved in, the lady who owned the bar that I can't remember the name of that used to be Amnesia and the other place across, I've struck in the names of her bars from my brain.
Amnesia. I mean,
let's just call it pre-amnesia. Pre-amnesia, yeah. So she lived on the same floor as me. And she was a wacky lady, and she was infamous. You know, she's friends with all these famous rock stars, but I never even knew what meth was, but until I met her, and I found out quickly.
Yeah.
And she was a wacky lady. One day, all of this cool stuff started getting stacked in our hallways. It was like the coolest vintage toy store in the world. And it was her getting evicted. That was what it was. And she thought she could just move all her stuff out in the hallway and somehow get away with it. Well, she didn't. They eventually got her out of there. I got a lot of cool stuff out of it because she abandoned a lot of stuff. Lo and behold, the guy who winds up owning Amnesia, Sean, lived in the apartment right above mine.
Oh.
By coincidence.
Yeah.
He didn't even know she lived there.
Holy
they didn't live at the same time.
Is that how he came to own it?
No.
Oh.
They weren't even there at the same time.
They don't even know it. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't even there. It was just a bizarre coincidence.
And now he's like moved his family to Mexico.
Everywhere. Now they're back from Mexico.
Yeah.
I think they're back in the East Coast now.
Okay.
I don't know.
But they're just donezo with amnesia.
I feel like I saw him the other day with him and his family parked in the Mission. I think they've just been driving around the country in I could be wrong, in like some sort of recreational vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the
even
guy's
if you're not wrong. That guy, he's pretty unmistakable,
Sean, yeah.
He's like the blondest person anywhere.
Blondest surfer dude in the world. I didn't like him when he lived above me. There was a fire in a building, and he accused me of setting it, and his bicycle got melted or something. And to this day, we worked it all out because we're buddies now. But dude, I had nothing to do with the fire.
Right.
You know? But he's a cool guy, and I think he's as responsible as anyone for the Mission getting to be super cool when it was super cool.
No, I thought the way that he stepped away from amnesia was fucking awesome and admirable. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like you circumstances have changed. You've got a family, and you're just kind of done. And you're gonna hand it off to. I don't hate the City Beer Store people.
Yeah,
I don't hate what they've done. They kept a lot of the same.
They improved the sound.
Gags.
They improved the sound. They kept Gaucho and Bluegrass Mondays. They didn't keep Mississippi Mike's Thursday Honky Tonk, but
okay. So I fucking hate them for that.
I don't. I don't. You know, I've met some of them. I met one of them, and they're decent guys. They actually owe me money, but it's like $15. Come on, that's 2 beers.
With interest
2 beers.
Now, yeah.
I think they should have one cheap beer.
Yeah. So if you're listening, and also I'll take a free beer.
One PBR. Yeah, I'm a big Jonathan Richman fan who has visited this very studio, but not this very room. When it's somewhere else. Anyone out there know who Jonathan Richman is? If you're out there, raise your hands. Yeah. All right. We get a hip audience. I am a big Jonathan Richman fan. When I first moved to California, I was blown away by the fact that he visited here regularly. In fact, he even lived here for a short period. And me and my best friend that I made out here, my best friend was from Santa Cruz, but he talked exactly like Jonathan Richman because he was such a big fan of Jonathan Richman that he just started talking like him all the time, which is really
devotion.
Because Jonathan Richman has a very weird way of talking, and it's a lot of commitment. But I think my buddy did it without even thinking about it. But and he and I had a punk rock band, and we played our own original songs that my buddy JB wrote, which were bizarre, and Jonathan Richman tunes and Stooges songs. And so Jonathan was my guy, you know. And then for a time, that's when I wrote songs. I write honky tonk country music and folk music mostly now, but back then I just wrote Jonathan Richman style punk rock songs. They were more punk than Jonathan, but basically cute stories about people who worked at grocery stores and stuff. And that's all I did. And I got a gig at Doc's Clock because I knew I was dating a girl who was one of the owners of the Doc's Clock at the time. And I had really never had a gig where I played my own music before. It's my first one. And I dressed like a rodeo clown. I was walking down the street in Noe Valley, and I found a box, and it was filled with like these red, white, and blue leather chaps and red, white, and blue leather vest, and not like gay fetish chaps, rodeo clown.
You were basically in
chaps.
the San Francisco video game, and you found like a
it's a loot box.
Yeah, awesome.
And so I was Bandy the rodeo clown. Kelly Stoltz opened up for me, or he was supposed to open up for me, but he didn't show up. And that guy, he's not going anywhere, Kelly Stoltz. So I go down there with my material, which basically consisted of country songs like Bandy the Rodeo Clown, which I'd already been playing, so it was perfect, and Jonathan Richman style songs, and a Jonathan Richman song as well, all sung in a Jonathan Richman style voice that I had, and there's no one there. No one, not even my girlfriend showed up. I don't know why, maybe she was out of town. The place is completely empty except for the bartender. I guess I was dating Liz, or the lady who owned the place at the time.
Yeah.
Not named that. And and maybe one barfly, and Jonathan Richman and his girlfriend or wife at the time, the only people there.
Yeah.
So I'm standing there, never having played a show of my own music before, And I impersonate Jonathan Richman, and the only person in the audience is the person I impersonate, which I had to go about my business, and I did my thing, probably terribly. And then he came up, and he's like, "Hey, Mike, hey, I like your song." He said I sounded very sincere. That was his only compliment.
That's kind of gold from Jonathan, right?
I mean, yeah.
Because what else could he say?
Yeah,
if he's Jonathan Richman, that's awesome.
I saw him the next night at the Makeout Room, and
for a set of his, or
no, he was just there. I guess he was just in town. He actually wound up living here and marrying the other woman who owned Doc's. Is why he was there.
Yeah.
But Ralph Carney, I don't know who was playing. I think Ralph Carney must have been playing. I don't know if you know who Ralph Carney was. Another fellow who just passed away. He was a saxophone player. He played like 50 different kinds of saxophones. He was on a Tom Waits record, the great Tom Waits record, I think. Rain Dogs, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And his nephew is Patrick Carney, who is in that Black Keys band. Anyway, he just passed away, sadly. Another Mission legend or San Francisco legend. But Ralph was there. I already knew Ralph. And so I'm standing with Ralph having a conversation, and Jonathan Richman walks up, and he introduces me to Ralph as his friend. That one day I was Jonathan Richman's friend. Next time...
First you were just sincere, now you're his friend.
I was that night. Really, the only other time I ever interacted with him was at Radio Valencia Studios.
You spooked him out pretty bad.
Well, I used to co-host a country show on here at noon on Saturdays. And it was just after Lou Reed had died. And I had put together a Velvet Underground tribute band. Mm-hmm. Before Lou Reed had died, actually. We only did one record, though. We did Loaded. Yeah. You know. Everyone else was doing the VU with Nico, you know.
Sure.
Pretty cliche.
Easy stuff. Yeah.
Cliche.
Yeah.
Early hipster. That was like the shrine for these.
I mean, I would have done it.
Yeah,
I would have done it if 1,000 other people weren't already doing it. But I would have definitely loved to have done it. But I knew the people who were doing it, and they were probably doing it really great. So Loaded has, you know, rock and roll on it, and it's, you know, tons of the legendary tunes. You know, Sweet Jane is on that one, and Fat Blonde Actress, and all that stuff. Anyway, we were already, whatever it's called.
Lonely Cowboy Bill.
Lonely Cowboy Bill,
right,
come on
right.
now, shout out. So I turn on Radio Valencia. The only time I've ever actually listened to it when I'm not here. I don't even know why I turned it on. And I hear Jonathan Richman's voice coming through the thing. And I hear the guy I co-host the country show. So this is like 11 to noon, and we're on at noon. So it's like 11:45. I turn it on, and I hear Chris, my co-host, or I was his co-host, and Jonathan Richman is talking in the background. I'm like, wait a second. They're in the same room. It's a half block from my house. I throw on my clothes on the floor. I grab my acoustic guitar, and I literally run down there, which means in that block I ran, I'm about to die. I'm like,
running is not easy. Yeah.
Mission blocks are like New York City blocks. Really long.
Exactly. So I'm sitting there, and Jonathan is hanging out. He hangs out for, he's being interviewed about Lou Reed, because Lou Reed is his Jonathan Richman.
He just died.
He just died, and Lou Reed was to Jonathan Richman as Jonathan Richman is to me.
Right.
I hope that Lou Reed treated Jonathan Richman as rudely as Jonathan Richman has treated me, because maybe that's how the relationship was kept completely and perfect. But anyway, I sit there, listen to him talk. I'm like, I have a Velvet Underground cover band. I'm a huge Jonathan fan. We're friends.
Yeah, clearly.
So they wrap it up. I'm just waiting. I have my guitar. Will he sign it? He doesn't give one. I mentioned my Velvet Underground. He doesn't care about my Velvet Underground cover band. He doesn't want to talk to me at all. He only wants to talk to my friend, the co-host, who's never even heard of him before, about his life. Mm-hmm. Finally, I'm like, hey, Jonathan, you sign my guitar? He's like, you got a pen? I'm like, yeah, I have a pen. And finally, I get him to sign it. He like puts an X on it. I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah. All right, man. You take a picture with me? I've since recently told this story and found out that he does not like taking pictures. So I didn't know he doesn't like taking pictures. I said, take a picture. He said, got a camera. I'm like, someone has a phone. Sure, yeah. So we get a picture. He stands there, put my arm around him, get the picture. Then he leaves. I get the copy of the picture. We are dressed exactly the same. From head to toe. From hat to shirt to to
Holy
everything.
Shit.
I have a blue, like, kind of blazerish kind of overshirt, black and white striped undershirt, Greek sailor's hat, and he has the exact same thing.
Nice.
It's like a young, handsome Jonathan Richman next to the real Jonathan Richman.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen. I don't look anything like Jonathan Richman, but you can pretend like I do. Do you know who Jefferson Airplane is?
Sure.
The band, rock band?
Yeah, I know.
So I've had 3 interactions with Jefferson Airplane people. I used to work, when I first moved to the Bay Area, I worked at a place called the Candy Factory, which is a chain candy store where you buy candy by the pound. And yes, I did there. Mississippi Mike behind the scenes. I wear a blue apron and a blue visor and a red bow tie. And China Cantner and Grace Slick were regular customers. And I loved China Cantner when I was a kid. You know, I got a boner for her.
Sure.
So then I met them there. And then one day I'm on the Muni. I was on your favorite bus, the Geary bus.
38.
38. And we're way out, like on 45th Avenue or something, or 42nd Avenue. And the bus suddenly slams on its brakes because some dude in a black Mercedes has stopped suddenly in front of us without even, just in the middle of the block. And the bus driver's yelling at him and cussing at him. I look out the window, and it's Paul Kantner, guitar player, and he's spray painting over a no parking sign with black spray paint. Apparently, he must have gotten a parking ticket there, and he was going to fight it in court. But my favorite Muni Jefferson Airplane story is I'm riding on the 22. I was working at my next job was Starbucks on Union Street. I moved up from the candy factory.
It's moving up in society.
I had my guitar because I was a musician too, man. I don't just do coffee, man. I do rock and roll.
Right.
And this elderly lady's like, "Oh, you play guitar?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." She's like, "My son plays guitar. He's a musician." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Does he play? What's he do?" He's like, "Oh, he writes songs and he sings." I'm like, "Oh, cool. What's his name?" And she said, "His name is Marty Balin, who is the greatest Jefferson Airplane star in my mind." His mom apparently used to ride the 22 and just strike up conversations with random people about her son, Marty Balin, who I want to have a Marty Balin Day in San Francisco. Let's start it right now. Marty Balin Day.
It'll be the day that this podcast releases.
We're going to give him a statue or a medal or something, and he's going to sing, "If only you believe in miracles."
It won't be
it's a miracle, baby.
Yeah. Music for the podcast is by Joe Begale. Film photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. Michelle's photos are being featured in an all-woman photo show called Dreams at the 1090 Gallery, Bryant and 9th Streets in San Francisco. You can find Storied San Francisco on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the episodes and Michelle's photos of storytellers are up on the website, storiedsf.com. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the show. You can reach us by email at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Check back next week for stories from Chronicle photographer Jessica Christian.